started my career at St Mary's under-15s. Played there for that entire year. Next year, St Mary's were in the first grade grand final under Matt Goggin. Played full forward in the grand final there. Then under 19s the next couple of years, and then reserves at Geelong, culminating at 73 with a reserves grand final, which we lost to Richmond. Then we followed up at a visit at home in December of 73 by Mr. Bill Goggin, and he spoke to my parents. I wasn't there at the time, and said that he wanted me to come over and play at Geelong West with him, and would I be interested. And all of a sudden I had got home, and I was overwhelmed to be invited to play at Geelong West and under Bill. And shortly after that we started training, and we had a Jackie, I think his name was. He was our physical trainer, and we did a hell of a lot of running. We got a lot fit, and all the boys that we played with in 73, a lot of them came over that year, and it was just like being in the same team. We gelled together. A lot more running with 16 men aside, high scoring, and then we started to get crowds in, and it was a terrific year. In 74, I think we just missed the finals, but in that year I came fourth in the best and fairest, which I behind some very, very good players, and I was just overwhelmed. 75 started, trained harder again, got a few more players from Geelong, and it was just a powerhouse, especially at home, culminating in winning the flag in 75. Then in late 75 moved to Perth, played for Swan Districts for a year and a bit, returned then in 77 to Port Arlington, played there again in 78, won a flag and a best and fairest, and then I moved on to Newtown in 79, and in the start of 1980 I'd done my knee, and that was basically it for the career there. As a player, I started out as a forward, but in a short period of time I ended up in the back line, and basically I was a fairly defensive player, a checker, tagger if you like. Just made sure that my man stayed close to the boundary and wasn't able to operate closer to goal. So my job was to keep pushing them wider and wider, and be a spoiler for the team. Yeah, we arrived in the bus at the ground at the grand final, and I can remember we were all pretty nervous, excited group coming into the ground, and then we saw the crowd there, and it only built up on that. Before the game, you checked everything 10 times, I think. You sat there as quiet as you could, trying to relax, but the heart was pumping, and those first couple of minutes of the game, you're just basically floating around trying to get a touch or get in the contest to settle you down, and luckily we did. Well, I remember it as clear as today. Billy's instructions was to go out and pick up Paddy Flaherty, one of the legends of Dandenong, a half-forward flanker, a left-footer, a pretty tough guy. He didn't mind having a go. He'd jump in pretty hard. So Billy's basic instructions were get out there, just keep pushing him to the boundary line, get him on the wrong side of his left foot because he only had a left foot, and teaming up with Ivan Russell and Jeff Klein across the back line, because he was a bit smaller than me. We all shared the responsibilities. If someone was out of position, well, we all checked back on each other. We had a good start to the game. I think we kicked 4 or 5 goals pretty quickly, and from that point on we sort of had them rattled. But they were, Johnny Walker knocked out, I think, Johnny Hughes at the time, and Hughes, he played on, but he had no memory of the game after. So that's the way my role was, and to fit in with the back line, keep swapping around, and keep pushing them as wide as we can, because they had Frosty Miller at full forward on Smithy, and he was a great mark and lead, so just kept on blocking that centre track where they couldn't get through. Well, Billy Goggin, well, he probably made my parents' day when he actually came out and asked me to come over to play. My parents always talked to that day that Billy came home, and as far as a coach and a mentor, he just had it all. He had the quietness to tell you things. He also had the real pushback, fight it out, drawn out speeches that he spoke of, and how to put your body in and make it your game. You've got to will yourself up, and from that point of view, he was the greatest coach that I had ever had to play under, for sure. Yeah, I was always inspired by Joe Radojevic, especially. He just had something that when he played and kicked goals, we just looked so good. As far as the centre line, Tony Gilmore, when he came there, these guys were headhunted by other teams, yet they had all this attack on them, and yet they kept on standing up, pushing up. Dave Manson, the day that Big Dave fixed up Tony Jewell, I wasn't far away from that, and it was, Dave was a dedicated footballer. He took instruction well, and I got to hand it out to him. And little Johnny Hughes, well, real tiny guys, Stephen Wolfe, they had big hearts. They just go in anywhere. So and also Terry Bright, he was a fearless competitor, and he took a lot of harsh treatment from some of these backmen. They really went after him big time in the packs and that. So we were lucky to have that young group of guys. Greg Wells, fantastic players. And even Smithy down at full back, he played on a lot of the really tough footballers. Freddie Cook, Frosty Miller, they just kept on backing up. They'd be on for a fight. They'd try anything, They'd be back punching you. So, great performers. Ivan Russell, Rod Stokes, the whole team, they were just brilliant. Yeah, well, the pace of the game, the ball moved quicker, but in the VFA, if you got yourself out of position, you'd be hit from all areas. They'd shirt front you, they'd punch you, they'd scrap with you, and a lot of times you just couldn't believe how tough it was. There wasn't a time when there wasn't a fight on the game, and I think that's what attracted a lot of the supporters to it. They knew that when we wanted us on TV, it was just brutal. There was guys there that they wouldn't necessarily elbow you much. They just want to fight you, and that was the way they wore you down. They weren't the greatest of footballers, but that's the way they played the game. As far as after the game, they were the first guys to invite you in for a beer to their club room. So from that point of view, it was just an awesome display of how physical they made the game. They made it a physical game, man on man, and there was no holds barred. As far as then going to play in the West, in the Waffle, it was a faster game, grounds were more open, different football, and it was basically a little bit like it is today, where you see a lot of players are running more, and there's no physical big confrontations. You get a bit of windburn these days, but in the rules of the game now, you just can't hit the guys like we used to hit them. And if you had an opportunity back then in the VFA, well, you put the guy down. You didn't take any more from it. You just you took it. You knew you were going to get it if he didn't give it to you. So that was the way it was.
You've given your heart to get here and your soul to get it right. You can take 'em boots and all, but it's sure gonna take a fight. When you spend all week getting to your peak, you're gonna have your say. You bet. On Sunday, it's the VFA. It's Sunday. You're gonna make your play for the VFA. Today you're gonna fly. It's Sunday for the VFA. It's Sunday.